Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, for me personally, even though I never really watched full episodes of it, for some reason tonight's NXT, and I mean this as a compliment, felt very FCW-esque in a sense that you had like a lot of newer, fresher people on display, or people that we wanted to see get built up and more promoted, get promoted. This really felt like a developmental-esque episode of NXT, and I only say that because of Triple H's famous quote, "developmental my ass." But you know what? It was a nice change of pace. We got some matches that really showed where the future of some divisions are going, some storyline progression in other areas, and a main event segment that kind of left my head scratching, but I guess it was just kind of a reintroduction to everybody, who the NXT champion is and what he's all about. Partner, what do you think of tonight's episode?
I really enjoyed tonight's episode. I will admit it wasn't as good as last week's, or I would even say not as good as the weeks between the draft and TakeOver Brooklyn 2, but it was still relatively enjoyable. The matches that you're referring to that felt like FCW matches, I completely agree with you, and I say that from a position of experience because I watched FCW religiously. And yeah, you're on the point. You're on the nose, on point, whatever you want to describe it as. You're correct in that description.
Well, I'm glad you had my back there, partner, because if you would have left me in the trenches and been like, I actually watched FCW, and you couldn't be more wrong, I probably would have just, cried in my sleep tonight. So thank you for having me avoid that fate. With that said, though, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I don't really know if I can make this a heat of the night or a nitpick because I don't know if these injuries are legit, but we know that Joe wasn't on the program tonight because of a segment that I died right with William Regal, a segment my partner here actually filled me in on that said it was more than just the jaw. There are other lingering issues, and Joe shouldn't appear for a while. I don't know if that was legit or just a heelish way to kind of pull back on him, but it kind of left the main event segment again of Nakamura just as the new NXT champion a bit underwhelming. Like, I love Shinsuke, and I think I get why they did it. It was kind of a way to push the reset button on the main event scene, get everybody reacclimated. But I wanted that little bit of a pop, So I'd say that's my only nitpick, contingent on the fact that those quote-unquote lingering injuries weren't legitimate. So,
yeah, okay, that's an interesting problem. I didn't even think about that as a problem, honestly.
Yeah, so I was just really looking for something to pop in that main event. So maybe it's more on me. But again, I get why they did it. I just wish they could have done more with it. So do you have any nitpicks or heats of the night?
Well, actually, yeah, I do have a nitpick, but I think there's a chance that you or even some of our fans might disagree with me on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love when we get new talents. Like, they're obviously going to, take a little bit of an interest in Steve Cutler now, Liv Morgan. But what I'm not a big fan of is how NXT sort of sanctions chunks of talent away from others. I have always been of the mind that you don't get better unless you go against people that are better than you.
Right, and I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, and Steve Cutler and Kenneth Crawford are about on the same level, and Liv Morgan might be a little better than Aliyah, but you're trying to push Liv Morgan, and Aliyah is her opponent, so it doesn't really make sense to me. That is, I think they should have had more established people that have been in the business for longer, people with more credibility behind them, for Cutler and Liv Morgan to beat tonight. And it's not necessarily that I just don't care that they beat Kenneth Crawford and Aliyah respectively. It's that you're not going to get any better by beating people of that caliber.
Yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from. And in the case of Liv Morgan, because I still have a great interest in the women's division given NXT's history, it's kind of a shame that we don't have somebody like an Alexa Bliss still on the roster, because to me, like, That's the kind of person I would have put Liv Morgan against, because I think Alexa Bliss has just enough credibility to make it a huge win for Liv Morgan, and yet
Bliss
not
would have been a great choice for her. And then for Steve Cutler, I mean, even if you just would have had like a Bull Dempsey sitting around still, he would have been a good kind of fodder for Steve Cutler to beat. And, you know, I just think that you have running more established people, and if it's supposed to be developmental, well, how the hell are you supposed to develop anybody when you have all your inexperienced people wrestling each other and you have all your experienced people wrestling each other and they don't intermingle at all?
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. You gotta cross mix. You gotta have the inexperienced people getting in with the experienced people from time to time. That's why I loved when Nakamura was working with guys like Ty Dillinger and stuff, because I'm not calling Ty inexperienced, but when you get to work with somebody the profile of Nakamura, I think you walk away with a little something. I think we need to see more of that on NXT for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, with that said, is that your only nitpick that you want to?
Yes, it was.
Let us get right into our NXT review. And partner, you filled me in on what started. A doctor, conversing with William Regal, saying, look, it's more than just a jaw injury. There are other lingering injuries that Joe suffered from after his match with Nakamura. He shouldn't compete tonight or in the foreseeable future. He's not even going to appear. So that leads to some, interesting developments. Maybe we'll talk about that a little later. But then as far as our first matchup goes, it's Ty Dillinger versus Buddy Murphy. Again, we have this sense of competition between Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy, seeing who can do better than who. And Wesley Blake fell to Ty Dillinger last week. Would Buddy Murphy fare better? And I thought this was a really fun opening contest, Ashton.
You know what? I'm going to say this. I don't know if I would make this a full-blown nitpick or anything, but I feel like this match and our main event segment should have been switched. I think that Nakamura's promo should have opened this show, and then this Dillinger-Murphy match should have closed it.
You know something? I completely agree with you, and I say that because, and I don't want to get anyone's hopes up here, most especially mine, but I feel like they may finally be starting to do something with Dillinger, because this is his second straight win, and commentary even noted that. I feel like that's more of an interesting note to leave the program on than just Nakamura's reintroduction to the NXT universe, the fresh set of tapings after a takeover as the NXT champion. Like, if anything, that should be a tone setter, because, okay, now we're beginning anew. We have a new champion. And especially, actually, when you say that, dude, it's kind of like my brain's firing off, because you agreed with me at the start of the show. This episode did feel very developmental. We had new talents getting pushed, like Liv Morgan's finally shining a little bit, Steve Cutler. So it would have been perfect for Shinsuke to open up, because, again, that screams new. It's a fresh beginning, which would have followed thematically with those matches. And then you want to talk about...
this was the first show after the Brooklyn taping, so it would make sense that you would open with your new champion, really kind of setting in stone, like, get ready for the era of strong style. And then the first match to kick off the era of strong style is someone brand new, Steve Cutler, taking on Kenneth Crawford.
Yeah, now that, like, you've said it aloud, and I'm thinking about how this episode could have been better structurally, they could have had some brilliant, like, thematics going on here. And you want to talk about the theme of just new and beginning anew. Ty Dillinger embodies that. Keep in mind, before his return, he was on a losing streak. Now he's 2-0 right now. He's won 2 weeks straight. So I feel like he could have really embodied, we're beginning over again, and I'm starting off on the right foot. Yeah, I really love that, dude. I'm glad you made that a nitpick at the last second, because they really had a chance to establish a very strong theme. And that doesn't make this episode any worse. I'm just saying it's the little things, especially for guys like you and I, when we watch products like Lucha Underground and such. That notwithstanding, this match between Ty Dillinger and Buddy Murphy was a lot of fun. Buddy Murphy, I'm telling you, if you would give him a definitive character, because right now all I see as the character is he's still the tag team specialist, Buddy Murphy, but he's competing with his former partner, Wesley Blake. That's not really a unique identity. I want him to shed that skin and really find something new, because in ring, he has it down to a science. He is so good in ring. You and I have talked about his look to death. He's got everything there. And speaking of people who've got everything there, it's about time you gave Ty Dillinger some wins. This crowd loves him to death. He's always had it together ever since the introduction of this Perfect 10 gimmick. And I love that he's really sticking with the Ushigoroshi, now known as the tiebreaker. I love that so much more than like the single knee face buster he was doing. I think it's perfect. I really think he's a well-rounded gimmick now.
Yeah, definitely.
And he does win after the tiebreaker. Do you have anything you want to add as far as your musings on this match?
I love that Murphy was the first one to initiate the 10 chant, because he did the snapmare and then did the 10 pose. And then later on in the match, Ty did the cartwheel into the 10. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm telling you, it's a gimmick that Full Sail has sunk their teeth into. I still want, and oh God, see, I only wanted though if Ty would get the upset win. I still want him hitting a brick wall in Samoa Joe. And again, going back to that point, facing people that are better than you. There's a huge disparity, even kayfabe-wise, between Joe and Ty Dillinger. I want to see that match. And I want to see Ty Dillinger get the upset roll up and then the blood vessel just pop out of Joe's head. So, you know, I want it. I think it would be amazing. But we'll see what they do with Ty Dillinger. Commentary was talking about how he's on a bit of a roll and that could lead to title opportunities. I'll tell you, man. See, this is the problem. And I know a lot of people, it was such a lively debate. Shouldn't Nakamura be NXT champion or shouldn't he? And again, this is another case in my mind for why he shouldn't be, especially because there is no mid-card title in NXT. And for a long time, I've liked it, and I still like it. But you see Ty Dillinger on this role, and it's one of those few times that I'm like, man, I wish we had a mid-card title. Because how am I going to believe him if he's to continue this streak to take on Shinsuke Nakamura? I really just, I couldn't conceive of it. So I really wish there was a mid-card title so then I could get behind him, you know, winning that. So what do you think they're going to do with Dillinger? Do you think it's going to end just as quickly as it started? Do you think this is actually going to be a story they run with?
I don't know. I think that right now I'm just kind of enjoying it while it lasts. He's picking up some wins. Maybe he'll get his win against Oni Lorcan back. That would be interesting. I don't really know how far I'll take it, but it would be definitely interesting if he got a shot at Nakamura, even though we all know he would lose. It would just be cool to see him get, because we've already seen him in a sort of just like a throwaway random match against Nakamura for his first match on NXT TV. And it was very entertaining. It was a really, really fun match. And for them to have a more serious bout where, you know, Ty refocuses and wants to try and beat Nakamura for the title, I think it would be a really interesting story, even though I agree with you that there's no way he would beat him or should beat him.
The only way I could see us using that kayfabe disparity of Nakamura being so dominant and Ty being so focused and hungry, I don't want Nakamura to be a heel, but I think he can work more heelish, kind of like how Ambrose did in the Ziggler feud. You get what I mean? And I feel like if Ty just kept getting back up and wanting more until finally a Kinshasa, like square in the jaw, put him out, that could really make Ty seem like, man, that guy dug down deep. He pulled stuff out. And then maybe Nakamura kind of acknowledges him, kind of like Taker did Jeff Hardy in 2002, that whole kind of thing. Like, wow, this guy really took a beating. He really wanted my championship. He's going to be something. That's the only way I could really see it working. And I'm only having this extended conversation about it because you and I are both invested in Ty Dillinger's future. I think it's a great gimmick. I think he's been working hard. He has it down to a science. He has this crowd in the palm of his hands. The way the crowd responds to him, I'm telling you, if he were to win a championship, if he were to either find a partner and win the NXT tag titles or even win the NXT championship at a takeover, in my mind, it would be pop of the night. It'd be absolutely huge. That's how over he is right now. I don't want that overness to falter. You know, I don't want them to mishandle it, to drop it. So we'll see where they go with it. But Ty Dillinger does beat Buddy Murphy. Anything else you want to say about it?
Yeah, interesting if Ty did end up winning the title, because that would actually make him the 10th NXT champion.
No freaking way.
Well, first was Rollins, then Big E, then Bo, then Neville, then Zayn, then Owens, then Balor, then Joe, then Nakamura.
Holy shit. Now I just have one more question. Maybe this will be how we end it. Is NXT self-aware of that fact? Like, is that why he's 2-0 right now? Dude, you just fucked with my mind so bad. Like, we're going to be talking about the rest of the show, and I'm just going to be thinking, 10. I'm just going to be thinking, man, is he going to get that championship? Because that's how my mind works, and you have to know that. So now the trivial bullshit, which is so true, I'm just going to be like, oh my God, this is bigger than the Kennedy assassination.
To me, he either needs to be the 10th NXT champion or debut on the main roster at the 10 spot in the Rumble.
Yeah, they got to work something with that 10. And I don't know. We'll see. But now you've got me even more intrigued. I hope I'm not the only sucker with his hopes up, though I know I probably am because that's just how I roll. But with that said, anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think so. I think I've about exhausted my Ty Dillinger fandom for the night.
All right, there you go. Let's move on. What came after this?
Charlie Caruso. I believe it was Charlie Caruso. I really have a hard time telling Charlie Caruso and Andrea DeMarco apart for some reason. One of them was doing ring announcing tonight, and I have no clue which one it was. But one of them interviewed Tommaso Ciampa, who basically just says, Gargano, he's got a lot of heart. He's going to be fine, whatever. And then the Revival show up, and we get, Ciampa, I think, initiates it, but we get a brawl, which turns into a beatdown by the Revival onto Ciampa.
Man, dude, I don't want to be scatterbrained here, but I mean, you pretty much covered the segment. The Revival put the beat down on Ciampa. They do have a little bit of a promo talking about how this is what happens when guys like Ciampa come face-to-face with top guys, or as they said a lot, reality. Us being the top guys, that's the reality of NXT. And then Ciampa had a fucking great moment where he's like crawling back in the ring. He's pulling himself up by what Scott Dawson's wearing, and he's just got this smile on his face while the crowd's chanting Psycho Killer. He gets hit with the Shatter Machine. Now that we've established all that, because again, that's really all there is to the segment. I liked it. It was well done. I just got to get off my chest, though. I really hope this leads to Ciampa turning on Gargano. I think it's time. I do love these guys as a team, but I could easily see Ciampa being like, why weren't you there for me, Johnny? Even though he perfectly well knows why. If he really is a psycho killer, emphasis on psycho, rationale goes out the window. Rationally, you could explain it away.
I don't know, dude. I feel like they might go after the titles one more time because, I mean, that you see that babyface fire from Ciampa. It would be a waste for them to turn him heel before they get another shot at the titles.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because that was a great moment. That was a great moment. And honestly,
it really was.
As intrigued as I am about the prospect of the Revival working babyface against AOP, I don't think NXT has as much interest in that experiment as I do. I could easily see Ciampa and Gargano being the babyface champions against Authors of Pain. It works. Gargano and Ciampa are so beloved in NXT, and the Authors of Pain have been so dominant. Yeah, I think that's the angle they want to go with. So I have to agree with you, despite what I may want, because I just think Ciampa, and I know you do too, could be one hell of a heel in singles on NXT and a real threat.
And it is NXT, so they like to drag everything out a little bit longer than we would expect the WWE to do, which means, knowing the way that NXT's been over the last year and a half or so, we could very well end up with a Ciampa Gargano title reign, and Ciampa would turn on Gargano after they lose the titles in 6 months or however long it takes.
But see, here's another interesting thing, though, that I feel like I have to mention for the sake of the review. If I'm not mistaken, both Ciampa and Gargano were advertised to debut for Raw's Cruiserweight division on the 19th. Yeah. So, are they going to wrap up their business with NXT and then focus on Cruiserweight division full time? How is that going to work?
It's a good question.
Yeah, because if they are going to wrap up their business, I don't want to say that Gargano's leg is how they wrote him off television, though it very well could be, or that the assault on Ciampa was the way of writing him off television, because there's still a little bit of time. That's a good point,
actually. Yeah, you might be right. I hope it's not, because Ciampa looked freaking great tonight. That moment you were talking about where he was just crawling into the ring towards Dawson was legendary.
And you know what's funny? And this is going to make me seem like a hypocrite, and I readily own that. Because I know we've talked about like guys with this kind of experience, NXT and should be on the main roster, but I almost feel like Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, it doesn't feel right yet for them to be on the main roster. I feel like they had more to do on NXT. I'm not satisfied, and I'm sure they'll do great. especially being that kind
We
of
felt the
highlight
same
reel.
way about how many people though when they got called up. Corbin, Apollo, like there are up that we
True.
don't feel satisfied about the work that they did in NXT quite yet.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think where they're safe, and this is going to make me sound like such an asshole, the cruiserweight division, I think in WWE's mind, they look at the cruiserweight division and they say to themselves, we don't really care what your character is. We just care that you can pop the crowd and be human highlight reels. And I think Gargano and Ciampa could do that in spades. But I was really loving the story they were telling, with the revival. Ciampa clearly enjoying the beatdown, like, come on, I'm not going to stay down. Give me everything you got. Gargano being this guy full of heart, and us learning more about them, the whole DIY thing. And
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of that. So again, I know that they are guys that, that they're very seasoned at what they do. They're very apt in their craft. Maybe they don't need NXT, but I was enjoying the growth from them. I was enjoying the journey. And I hope this cruiserweight debut doesn't cut the knees out from underneath that momentum. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So up next, we had our second match of the night, Steve Cutler versus Kenneth Crawford. What do you think, John?
Ashton, how can I put this? Because to say I feel like a proud
and by
pop.
the way, before the match started, Steve Cutler did cut one of those screen promos.
Yes. Pretty much saying, I don't care if you love me. I certainly don't give a damn if you hate me. This is my opportunity and I'm going to take it, was pretty much the gist of what I got from the promo. Okay, here's how I'm going to start. One, like I said, I was starting to say that I kind of feel like a proud papa would be weird, but you and I have been watching Steve Cutler for a long time. He was the guy we made a joke about, the trust fund, because to me, he always looked like a rich kind of douche, especially with those mutton chops of his. Here's the brilliance of Steve Cutler, though, and more specifically, the brilliance to me of NXT, and I appreciate them for this, because it was a mental note that I made. Steve Cutler is an Army veteran. Like, they talked about him doing tours in Afghanistan and everything.
Yeah, and that right there, like the whole Army veteran thing kind of really takes away from our view of him as a rich, spoiled brat,
It takes away from our view of him, but what I like about it is, even with that, because again, how many times have we talked about with Rusev? The nationalistic sentiments. Oh, my patriotism, my country. And yet Steve Cutler's working heel. I like that the guy's able to tour. He's still a human being when he comes home, and human beings can do bad things. I like that NXT acknowledges that, because this deification of America and military service people and all that stuff, not saying they don't deserve respect or adulation. I'm just saying, like, the idea that they always have to be good, or foreigners always have to be this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's funny you bring that up, because there's actually, this whole thing with Colin Kaepernick and how he didn't stand during the national anthem. And now there's an image floating around on Facebook that shows a picture of Kaepernick on one side, and it explains, like, he gets paid $19 million a year to be the quarterback of the 49ers, and he didn't stand for the whatever. Is a former football player named Glenn Coffey, and it says that earn down millions of dollars a year to join the military. And first of all, none of that is actually true, because I've been watching football long enough to know who Glenn Coffey is and know that he was never really any good. Turned down millions of dollars because he never would have made millions of dollars. He would have been making the league minimum, which is still six figures. So, that's cool. But he actually quit football back in 2010 to get a degree, to finish his degree, not to join the Army. So back in 2010, he quit football to get his degree. He ended up in like 2010 or 2011 getting arrested for illegal possession of a pistol. And it wasn't until 2013 that he decided to join the military. So, weird image where if somebody is in the military, they did it with all the best intentions and they're automatically a good person, but it's not necessarily true. And the fact that it's being perpetuated by so many people is kind of gross.
And thank you, Ashton, for articulating the problem I have so eloquently. Again, I'd expect nothing less of you, because whenever I start commentaries like that, I'm thinking, okay, I got to tiptoe around the minefield. But yeah, that's precisely my problem. Military service or being a foreigner or what have you isn't a monolithic experience. You know, I say the same thing because I've been getting in conversations a lot about something as sensitive as disability. You know, not all of us are these inspiring little snowflakes that are nice. I'm sure, as you guys well know on the program, I could be kind of a dick. I'm proud of it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So to have Steve Cutler represented as this bad guy, like, oh, you know, boo me, it's my time. I like that. I really, really like that. So I will say that's what this match does really well. Kenneth Crawford, I liked. He wasn't in the Cruiserweight Classic, was he? I'm trying to remember.
I think he was actually. No. Kenneth Johnson was in there.
Yeah, I knew about Kenneth Johnson. I just didn't know if there was also a Kenneth Crawford. So I just want to make that clear.
Just remember, I was referring to Anthony Bennett as Kenneth Johnson for like the first 5 minutes of Anthony Bennett versus, I think, Tony Nese.
Right. So, you know, Kenneth Crawford, pretty good. I like how commentary talked him up. Corey Graves even going as far as to say, oh, I see a big star in him. And the match is decent. It's hard to get into a match when Steve Cutler up until this point has been treated as a joke, and he's facing somebody that, honestly, they say we've seen before on NXT. I personally didn't remember him. So I'll take that as my own fault, but still, you know, it does kind of hinder my personal experience. That said, I liked what they did. I liked kind of the foot stomp that Cutler did in the corner at the end, you know, when he was kind of using Crawford's momentum against him. And then the Fisherman Michinoku driver, as Tom Phillips called it, to end it. I think that's a cool finisher. So Steve Cutler, like, he's on my radar. We've joked about him forever. Now they're giving him more of a definable character and this momentum. You know what? Let's let loose. Let's see what he can do. I'm invested. So, I mean, what did you think about this match? I'm always very interested, you know, when you got two prospects like this and your notes and your personal musings. What did you think?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Admittedly, my notes aren't very extensive for this episode of NXT. I was very kind of in and out with it, detailed notes or anything. But yeah, this match wasn't horrible by any means. I think people might be giving it some crap. I know I've already seen people giving the Liv Morgan Aliyah match crap, but even that wasn't that bad. It was, you know, it was a little bit sloppy in some parts, but it's not like it was just a train wreck or anything. You know, it wasn't like Charmel, Jenna Maraska levels of awful, but this was a solid match, kind of a paint by numbers WWE match, and obviously they're interested in pushing Cutler or at least building him up to maybe feed him to someone else. We'll see.
Do you think Steve Cutler, I mean, it's so hard to say by one match, but do you think he'll go a respectable amount? Do you think he'll find somebody, maybe that'll be a new addition to the tag division? Because, I mean, Steve Cutler does have an interesting look. I just don't know what I would think his ceiling would be, and maybe that's just hard to gauge by one match where he actually wins. So, any ideas?
I think that's what it is. I think you can't necessarily judge it based on this one match. We need to see more.
Right. So, with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this match?
He seemed like a bigger guy, though. I will say that.
Yeah, he seemed like he bulked up. I mean, again, I like the look. He kind of looks like Rico's evolved form a little bit in the face, you know, the mutton chops and everything. But that's just, hey, that's just me. It's not even a Johnny Scumbag thing. That's just a wow, John's a really weird egg. Why do we even talk to him kind of thing? You know,
Johnny Scumbag.
Johnny Scumbag. Putting those kittens all night long.
Oh, why would you do that?
Because I'm evil. Get used to it. I'm so sorry. I know inside voices when we're recording. That's on me. That's my bad, everybody. I apologize.
Oh, please. We never use inside voices for an entire show.
You're so right. See, I did it again. But regardless, in all seriousness, anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think so. I think we can move on. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Next, we had an interview with Hideo Itami. And I love Hideo. He's getting better at English. He's not quite as good as Nakamura, who, I mean, really they both have some work to do as far as certain pronunciations, but it's definitely passable at this point for Hideo, which I don't think it was when he first showed up. He said that he kicked Joe in the head with his sockless loafers. It was a huge moment for him, but not Joe, Aries. Was it Aries? Yeah, it was Aries, right?
Aries is correct. Yeah, that's who we attacked to take
Yeah.
over.
He said that was a huge moment for me, but he disappoints me. He being Aries. And then he said, ruptured eardrums? So what? I thought he was a real man, but it looks like he's just a little baby. If he doesn't want to feel pain, get out of my ring. I'll make him go to sleep again.
Yeah, great promo here from Itami. I gotta say, for me personally, I actually feel like his English is better than Nakamura's from where I sit. It's funny that you think Nakamura is the better one because I understood Hideo perfectly, whereas I feel like I kind of had to really focus in on Nakamura's promo just to get everything that he said. So, but either way, both guys could still improve to your point. So we do completely agree there. I like this promo. I think that Hideo, now that his English is getting better, we're able to see more of his charisma a little bit. And I really liked it. Just him calling Aries a big baby and saying, I'll put him to sleep again. Like, he's getting it, man. He's putting it together. And I can't tell you what a huge relief that is, given that he missed a whole year. You're like, oh, man, are they still going to be as interested in him? Has he suffered any personal regressions in that time? You know, a million questions ran through my mind. And just to see him be more comfortable in speaking, the pops he's been getting, I feel like it's almost like he didn't miss any time at all. And we're right back on track. Which, again, huge relief, hoping for the best for him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then we had, that's actually, the first one was a repeat of something that we saw at TakeOver Brooklyn, Sanity vignette.
Yes. Anything you want to say about this, man? Because I've been here. It's a divide.
I don't really know, man, because I've been hearing so many rumors of who it might be. I've heard might be Crazy Mary Dobson. I've heard Eric Young. What I've heard is that it's going to be Tommy End, but I don't want to get my hopes up for that because I just don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, Crazy Mary Dobson, like, I'm into it because we know our avid TwitWoW fan, you know, Brandon Best, like, he's all about that Crazy Mary Dobson. So for him, I would love it. Tommy End, wasn't he like one of your favorite, if not your just definitive favorite guy in PWG because you loved how his matches look so real, like shoot matches almost? Was that the guy, or am I thinking of somebody else?
You're thinking of Timothy Thatcher.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, that was my mistake, Timothy Thatcher. But Tommy End, I'm trying to remember him. And honestly, like, I need to go back and take a refresher, which may not be a bad thing because, hell, I'm a Drew Gulak fan now after the CWC, so maybe I'll grow a liking to Tommy End. But, yeah, I don't know who it could be. I like the vibe of them. This gimmick screams heel to me. Maybe not. Maybe the crowd will be into it. I don't freaking know. But I love the tone of it and everything. But, man, I want a premiere date. When are they coming? You know, what's going to happen? Actually, for something like this, just to do a bit of, you know, fantasy booking off the rails, I hope it's just not another squash match. I would like them to attack a top dog, like, right out of the gate or something. You know, do something different. Because, yeah, this seems crazy. Like, this doesn't seem like it should just be contained with one match. Like, oh, I'm promising all of this chaos and revolution, and I squash some guy. Like,
yeah, like, honestly, if I didn't know any better, I would have guessed that it was Sami Callihan or I guess Solomon Crow because this kind of suits him more than anything.
yeah, absolutely. So whoever it is, whether it's a women's wrestler, if it's a women's wrestler, I would love for them to attack Asuka right out of the gate. Doesn't mean they have to get a championship match. She could attack Asuka. Maybe they have a one-off and it's a really competitive match, but Asuka wins. Just a way to really make a statement. I'm tired of just like, oh, here's this really good enhancement match. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. Ember Moon and Billie Kay had a great one at TakeOver. It's not that they're bad. It's just that with the tone of this, when you have like cocktails being thrown and people in gas masks marching and it's just building and building, you need something huge. Like, I want to see a big time beatdown or something. So shake up the foundation a little bit. So yeah, I'm really excited for whoever this is.
Yeah. All right. So after this, we had a TM61 vignette. You know, we know who these guys are. We don't really need to talk about this. And then we had our third match of the night, No Way Jose versus Angelo Dawkins, and barely comprehensible for this. So, John, I'm going to let you take over here.
Bro, I hope I don't get any heat for this because, you know, I don't mean to be a dick, and I know that's rare for even me. I just can't get into Angelo Dawkins. Maybe that's because he's barely promoted as is. I don't get it. Curse of Great, and like the whole stirring it up thing, it annoys me. It annoys me. So, but the good news is,
heel.
I guess, but I feel like you know what though? Like, here's the thing: you're not wrong, so I have to give you those points, which irks me enough. Like, grr, foiled again. But I feel like he's barely even trying. Like, oh well, to be a heel, I got to get people to boo me. Let's see. Curse of Greatness. Well, the really smarky people look way too into that and think, how could greatness be a curse? And then I'll do this motion that'll get on people's nerves because it just has no point. I got it. Future NXT champion. Oh, yeah. Like, come on, man. Fuck you for being right, first of all. And then fuck me for even going on this rant. But yeah, I don't know.
The stirring it up thing is a James Harden taunt from NBA, from the Houston Rockets.
I'm not a basketball. See, this is why I need you. I don't watch basketball. I do not know this. I'm not proud of my ignorance, but, you know, I'm not about to turn on ESPN and correct it. So thank you. At least that fills in some of the gaps. But so that I don't,
of course, the curse of greatness. Of course, yeah. It's hilarious to me that you call yourself a scumbag and yet you let yourself get annoyed by other people that are scumbags.
Hey, look, man. Look, Angelo Dawkins, he can do him. Rob old people. Laugh in the inferiority of others. I do it all the time. You know, I'm just saying, I don't really get you. We're not on the same frequency right now. Maybe it's more sarcastic, like, oh, yeah, I have a curse. The curse of greatness. And, you know, maybe I'm just supposed to be like, wow, I'm a piece of shit relative to that guy. I haven't done anything with my life. I think I'll go home and, you know, cry about it. But yeah.
It sounds kind of like it worked.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe after this recording, I'm just going to be like, man, that Angelo Dawkins guy, he really got to me today. What am I doing with my life? And then that'll just start the existential dread all over again. But the good news is we still have a little bit of time left on this review before that happens, and I would like to use that time to talk about No Way Jose, because this guy just continues to be awesome. And, you know, very impressive in this match. Again, much like Ty Dillinger, he's got the gimmick down to a science. I feel like he has the crowd support. The only difference is, like, Ty Dillinger is amazing, and this isn't to try and put him down. But I think No Way Jose does have the better look at the end of the day, and I think that's why he's going to go farther than Ty Dillinger in the long run. You know, because like you've been saying, I know you more than me, you know, especially at the beginning, were pointing out No Way Jose's look and his physique and just, you know, that magnetism that he possesses. They've really got something on their hands. I loved his takeover match with Austin Aries. Didn't care too much for the finish, but I forgave it, you know, when Hideo came out and did his beatdown. I just love the fire that he showed, and I don't think we're done seeing that given something that happened later. But yeah, No Way Jose just continues to be awesome. Why the sigh?
Working the people that I love against each other for me.
Okay.
Oh, I like Ty Dillinger, but I think No Way Jose's got a higher ceiling because of his
come
role.
on, dude! It was an innocuous opinion. Like, what did you think?
There is nothing innocuous between the two of us.
Wow. First of all, mind the tone. Second of all, did you think I was just
mind your face?
Wow, I knew we were gonna go there, and I'm feeling self-conscious about it today because I think I'm tasting like 80% mustache. I need a shaving job. But more importantly, did you think that I was just rubbing my hands together, thinking, I'm just gonna drive a wedge between Ashton and his fandom for No Way Jose and Ty Dillinger, thus creating an internal conflict that will allow him to explode, and then I take the full reins of TWitWoW forever. Like, did you really think that was the thought process?
No, I think that the thought process was, you know, I know Ashton likes this one guy, but he also likes this other guy, and I like that guy more.
Do you write in a journal when we get done these? Or are you just like, no. Dear diary?
Journals are for marks, John.
There it was. There was your marky moment of the night, people. Apparently, journals are officially for marks. So, so I'm guessing you disagree with me then? You see the same amount of potential in both of these guys?
No, you're right, but I don't want to have to say it because that means that I'm saying something bad about Ty, and he's my boy.
Look, it's okay. I feel like for as much as I love Johnny Mundo, there are people ahead of him. Like, I think he's having the best year of his career. Do I think that Naito is also doing incredible work and that if you compare the two, it would be a tight race? Yeah, but Naito might come out a little bit ahead. He's just in another league right now. Doesn't mean we love those guys any less. I mean, No Way Jose is the future, dude. And I really have to credit you because you were the guy really like, hey, his look is amazing. He's connecting. And I've really been seeing it more and more each week. And again, that takeover match was revelatory because seeing that fire and seeing him not like dance around and be all jovial and jokey and like getting down to business, that's what's going to make him transcend. Because I feel like anymore we see guys that do comedy 100% of the time or not at all. And he's walking that line, dude. And he's walking that line straight to a main event picture to me. So I hope I'm right.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, don't get me wrong. I see the world in both these guys. And by both these guys, I mean Jose and Dillinger. But I see, admittedly, I've been the one that's been saying, and I will stand by this, he has a ceiling somewhere around The Rock. Right?
Right.
Like, he's got all the upside in the world. Like you even said, he's got a great look. He's got charisma and personality, and he's a solid in-ring worker, at least good enough as an in-ring worker, that kind of stuff. On Dillinger, like I'm seeing people saying, oh, Dillinger's going to be Bo Dallas or Adam Rose or Tyler Breeze. And with me, I see Dillinger more as like a Ziggler type, where maybe he'll win a world title a few times, maybe he won't, but he'll always be relevant. He'll always keep his name at the top of the card, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as it stands right now, and this business is one of pure chaos, anything can change at any time. But as of right now, that assessment of both guys, I think is spot on. And again, like, I don't want to take any credit. You are the one that really made me see the hype and everything in No Way Jose, and then he validated it, again, especially at that takeover match. So, but Ty also now is finally getting in a groove and he's getting pushed. And I'm glad that we're talking about two people here with bright futures, because that's when wrestling is at its best, when both guys are making some kind of an ascent, or more than two people, or however many people at one time. Like, that's the beauty of this industry. So I hope both guys keep climbing to whatever the final destination is for both of them. And I mean, we know what's in No Way Jose's future, which I think we'll touch on that in like a segment or two here. So yeah, but for tonight, he beats Angelo Dawkins, and that's all there is to say about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Up next, we had an interview with Andrade Cien Almas and Austin Aries, and just kind of started bitching about Hideo and the fans, and probably my favorite No Way Jose or Ty Dillinger related moment of the night. Andrade says tranquilo.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
you know what that is, right, John?
I know it's
you know what.
I was going to say, I know it's a Los Ingobernables kind of reference because I've heard Naito say the same. I don't know what it means.
I think it just means calm down, but still, it's a Los Ingobernables reference. So,
right.
Yes.
Yeah, which was really cool.
The freaking leader of that group,
Yeah, that is true. And then Naito inherited it and made it even better. Yeah.
No, that's Los Ingobernables de Japón, though. Los Ingobernables, I think, still exists in CMLL, but it doesn't have him as the leader anymore. I think Rush might be like the de facto leader now. I don't know.
Oh, well, there you go. But
regardless, it's exciting because it could be the first sign of a heel turn, because he also then spoke in Spanish, and Austin Aries got all uppity like, oh, hey, I don't understand your language. And then he told him, and then Aries was an asshole again, and he was like, oh, I think you said that into my bad ear, prick.
Like, you say that, and I'm like, man, I wish I could get behind Austin Aries, but I still feel that disconnect. I enjoy his heel promos, though. I
love that me saying prick is like a trigger word for you to feel like you need to support someone.
Well, not necessarily. I'm just saying, like, I love that, like, you're getting fired up, and I should be reveling in that, but I still feel like this disconnect with Austin Aries. I do enjoy his heel promos.
Getting more fired up about the prospect of Andrade Cien Almas turning heel than anything.
See, that's a heel I can support. I mean, Austin Aries, all he really does is laugh at people that are inferior, which, I mean, I totally understand. That should be a thing always.
Yeah.
But, that
That's
doesn't make you
you.
special. Yeah, exactly. So Andrade
Anyone can do that. Even you do that. We both do that most of the time.
Exactly. So, Andrade, though, especially his takeover match with Rude, where he did, at least from an in-ring standpoint, work babyface quite well. But as a heel pulling that stuff off and then just being like, yeah, I am good. Like, I want it. So
want.
Apparently these two are going to face off in a match next week, and I hope Andrade enjoys his second straight loss because there ain't no way he's beating Austin Aries.
No.
Yes. You good?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So now that we agree that Andrade has no chance, you ready to move on?
I am ready to move on. And up next, we had our fourth match of the night, Liv Morgan versus Aliyah. And yeah, it was probably the worst match of the night, but like I said earlier, it wasn't a train wreck. It was passable, and it looks like they're giving Liv Morgan some wins. And, maybe NXT's getting back in the mood to do TV feuds for championships because I could easily see Liv Morgan challenging for and getting destroyed by Asuka.
You know something? Okay, here it goes. I'm surprised that people are really kind of bemoaning this match because I liked it. I really feel like what made me like it, and just kind of follow me here, guys. I feel like narratively, it made perfect sense. Like what I liked, especially, let's focus on the person I really want to talk about in this thing. And it's not even the person who won in Liv Morgan. I'll get to her in a second.
I don't think people are complaining that the match happened. I think that people are just kind of, turned off because they felt like the match was kind of sloppy in parts.
And that's understandable. I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm not expecting either woman at this point to put on a clinic. I mean, there are some things you should just intuitively know how to do. But why I think I like this match from a narrative standpoint, Aliyah wore teal. I thought that was so smart because I was even joking to myself, and this is another mental note I made, Asuka beat the babyface out of her. It makes perfect sense when you get beat down that viciously that you go to the back and you say to yourself, what the fuck happened out there and what do I need to do so that never happens again? Because Asuka not only handed Aliyah her ass, she straight up destroyed and humiliated her. Didn't even stop the Asuka lock at the bell. Like, she really sent a message. So then for Aliyah to come out, have this change in attitude and have this change in perspective, I don't want to say that the beatdown by Asuka was traumatic, but it was definitely career-altering because Aliyah taking new steps. And you could even see it, too, in the style she worked. Asuka roughed her up, so now she's saying, well, I'm going to rough everybody else up. And you saw, her having Liv tied up in the ropes and with the punches and doing, that modified Kimura hold with the head scissors. Aliyah worked a more aggressive style. Was the match a clinic? Absolutely not, but I liked the character development that it seemed to illustrate for Aliyah post-Asuka match, which should have been a turning point for her, and I'm glad that it was.
I definitely agree that Aliyah works better heel, and I like Liv Morgan. I think that she has a lot of upside, and I think that, people always say, oh, Alexa Bliss could be the next Kelly Kelly. I think Liv Morgan might be the next AJ Lee.
Yeah, dude, she's over. She's got a connection with the crowd. Commentary even seemed a bit bewildered, particularly Corey Graves, because we're in Full Sail, which is in Florida, and they had a Jersey chant. So to put state pride at the side and be like, yeah, Liv Morgan, we got you. That's cool.
I mean, remember what happened the first time William Regal brought up the idea of NXT happening somewhere other than Full Sail.
Exactly. Boo! We're NXT. It can't be with anyone else. And then Kevin Owens owned them because he's a father, damn it.
Yeah, dude, I've seen more pictures of people wearing that shirt over the last month than I ever imagined I would.
You're damn right you have. And I have my Facebook decked out with Kevin Owens with his new Universal Championship. But this isn't the video for that. So back to the matchup. Liv Morgan
we say
wins.
We're going on break, we stick to it, damn it.
Exactly. Yeah, damn it. And so, yeah, Liv Morgan gets the win. I think it's the right call. And I'll be honest again, too. I would have been cool with either woman going over because, again, with Aliyah, you have the character progression. I lost to Asuka brutally. I'm going to brutalize everybody else now. I'm going to be the bully. And then you have Liv Morgan, clearly a babyface that's connecting, clearly a babyface that if you really get behind, this crowd could be ravenous for a title change. We don't know. Hoping for the same for Ember Moon, who I dearly miss tonight. Hopefully we see her next week.
I felt like she should have been on this show too, dude. I felt like I felt the absence of her presence.
I feel her absence every second of every day, but this isn't about me or my feelings. It's fine.
Oh my God, John, get a new waifu.
Hey, I'm working on it. It is hard, okay? But regardless.
That's what she said, or is it?
Wow. What? We are having a talk later. But Liv Morgan gets the win. Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, oh my God. Every time you get me to laugh on air, man, that's crazy. Liv Morgan does get the win. I agree with you completely. Like, Liv Morgan to me seems like that ideal TV feud candidate. Like, you know, maybe she racks up the wins. Maybe Asuka's having an interview backstage one week, and Liv Morgan's like, you know, I've been really impressive, and I just want to challenge you for the NXT Women's Championship. And I remember her saying in one promo that she did that she's doing it for the gram. So maybe she's just like, oh, I'm winning that NXT Women's Championship for the gram. Blah! And then, you know, she leaves because she's about that Jersey thug life. So, and then Asuka's just like,
what the hell is the gram?
I don't know. She said it in a promo once. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm lost, okay?
Are we talking about like drugs?
I thought we were talking about drugs, and I'm like, yo, Liv, this is a family program. What are you doing? And you know what, though? It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, say yes to drugs, kids. That's my message. So there you go.
Realize everything.
Yeah, everything.
John, I have a question for you.
You can ask me anything you want.
I mean, we've already had our Lucha Underground talk for the day, and then we've already had our Ember Moon talk for the day. So my question for you is, are Ember Moon or Taya?
Okay, you cut out a little bit there, partner. What about Ember Moon or Taya?
Who do you love more?
Ember Moon. Like, Taya's my girl, and she always will be. Taiwan Mundo for life. But me and Ember, you know, it's real. It's, dare I say, fire. Delicious. So yeah, Ember Moon, definitely.
Wow.
I really feel like we went places this segment. I'm so glad we took this journey together. I feel good about it.
You're just going to abandon Taya like that, huh?
I mean, you know, she's still got Johnny, which is all she really cares about. So it's not like I'm leaving her totally hanging. But he'll probably leave her too, with how he leaves her often in the ring to deal with people like Cage and others. But she can stand on her own 2 feet. She is a strong, independent woman. Okay, she'll be fine.
Yeah, but doesn't that make her even more appealing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but then again, you could easily say the same about Ember Moon. She don't know me. She don't know my business. I'm just slowly making the progress. You know, you know, it's gonna happen.
Okay, so Ember Moon is the new Emma official. All right.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll take Emma. Anyway, let's move on. Dasha Fuentes, and I can tell her apart from Andrea and Charlie. Dasha Fuentes interview with No Way Jose. And he talks about how tonight he has the heart of a lion going straight to the top. And then Bobby Roode shows up and stares at him for no reason.
Yeah, I know I just got done a few segments ago singing No Way Jose's praises, but Bobby Roode is just so superior. Have you ever just looked at someone and known that everything you ever do in your life relative to that person is always going to amount to a failure? And you've just been crushed by that weight, and you've never even wanted to bother trying. Well, you know, that's incredibly depressing, but the greater point here is, see, you say shit like that.
I think our wires got crossed there. That wasn't supposed to be depressing. It was supposed to be extremely arrogant.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, wires definitely got crossed, but I thought you were saying, like, oh, I have low self. That's how I interpreted it, but that was my mistake.
No, like, that's like me being like, no matter what I do in my life, I'm never going to be as awesome as that guy in the mirror.
Oh, look at you. +5. But yeah, you know, I feel like, No Way Jose, you're great. But compared to Bobby Roode, you're not glorious. You're just inferior. You're just kind of there. I mean, Bobby Roode did give him credit, though. He said, nice head. And I thought that was really nice of him to say, before he got evacuated from the building.
Nice head. I mean, the Bobby Roode stamp of approval for No Way Jose's head. I am all in on No Way Jose's head now.
I'm just wanting a status report. Like, what's Bobby Roode's progress on evacuating the poor? What's Bobby Roode's progress on updating Full Sail? I'm sick and tired of these snotty university students. Oh, I get university credits.
They did everything in their power to ruin the final segment. Seriously.
Yeah. And you know what? Bobby Roode, he's going to make change. You know what I'm saying? And No Way Jose, I'm sorry, bruh. You're just an obstruction. You're just a casualty on the era of glory. What's up, bruh? Come at me, bruh. No, just kidding. I think No Way Jose. No Way Jose actually seems like he acknowledges people on Twitter, and if he knows that I said this to him, we're going to have beef. And I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that in my backyard. So, I mean, we cool. I mean, you're inferior, but we cool.
John. Nice head.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I do acknowledge he has a nice head, but he just needs to, just realize that Bobby Roode is better than him.
I'm talking to you, you fool.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out a bit, ass face. Say it again. Say it again.
I said nice head. I was joking. You ruined it. Let's move on.
Fine. You take the reins. What came next?
Shinsuke Nakamura's promo.
Oh, God. So we end on this lukewarm segment with a phenomenal performer. Oh, God. Do you have anything you want to say about this? I mean, Nakamura's always been your guy. Why don't you give us your thoughts, Ashton?
He's really good at what he does all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you need to stop being so goddamn confrontational, John.
Hey, I am still feeling salty from the last segment, and I will express it, goddammit. I will express it on here.
Stop beating up your table. It didn't do anything to deserve that.
You know what? It did. It did. It's called getting in the way. Oh, my God. Anyway, let me actually give some substantive opinions, seeing as how... Well, let me just recap what you said. I like Nakamura. I gotta do it with a straight face. I don't believe it. I like Nakamura. He's really good at what he does. There's nothing wrong with that. Is this like a second-grade essay? Like, talk about your hero and why you like, I really like Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's really good at what he does, and when mommy and daddy are fighting, it's just really cool to watch him be really good at what he does, and there's just nothing wrong with that. Like, what? What? All right. Okay. So. Yeah,
because as I was saying those things, I was progressively realizing the attitude that you had just copped with me, and then I wanted to address that.
Oh, I'm sorry that takes priority over the actual program. So, okay, look. Let's just bring it down. Let's just turn down a little bit. I'm giving you an air hug right now. I'd like you to reciprocate. I hear you. I acknowledge you. Now let's just talk about this segment, okay?
Okay, we will handle this business after the show is over.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. But in all seriousness, man, like, you heard my nitpick at the start of the show. I was underwhelmed by it. I love Shinsuke. It's nothing against him. It's just, again, and you even added on to it. I think you made an excellent
I got to tell you, though, dude, I just really, it's like an otherworldly experience to hear him speaking in English for this long.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And it really does show, like, him and Hideo both, it's so encouraging to see them become more proficient at speaking the language. And you know what? I don't even know if I can get too mad because, again, for one, I do like Shinsuke again. Nothing against him personally. And two, I don't think this is even without precedent because I'm pretty sure we've had segments like this before, where it is like those reintroductions and then nothing happens. It doesn't mean that I like that it exists, but I mean, it's not like it's just out of the blue, oh, we've got nothing, so let's just have them talk to close the show. They have done this kind of thing before. I think they just treat their product like...
man, it should have opened the show, and then Dillinger should have closed it with the win.
No, I think you made the best case, and it's so funny because you made it very early on in the show, because that would have been, had I had the foresight to think about that, I would have made that the center of my kind of argument for this segment. But I'm just going to say, I refer back to your points that structurally, I feel like this could have been a lot stronger as a tone setter, not a show closer. And as a show closer, when I think you're looking for that, the word is the hook. You know, we use it in literature, we use it in TV. What's the hook for next week? And just Nakamura saying, you know, I've done it, and the Joe era is over and mine's begun. And Joe can't even answer for it as established by the opening segment. You know, it's a bit rough. You know, obviously I'm going to tune in next week because NXT is amazing, but it did lack that punch. It did lack that hook. Not bad, but it was what it was, you know, and that's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, I feel like Nakamura just kind of, it really did kind of feel masturbatory, because he just kind of went out there and talked about everywhere that he's been, and then said he needed to be in NXT, and he's here, and he beat, you know, the icon, he beat the best, and now he beat the champion, and now he is the champion. And it felt like, okay, well, all those other titles I held before, they were okay, but this is the best one.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You make a great point, because throughout the night they were highlighting all of Nakamura's successes to get here. And again, it just feels like when you're documenting all of that, something should pop off. You know what I mean? Like some challenger should emerge that's greater than all of these guys, though I don't know how you do that, because again, Nakamura is so OP at this point, and his body of work in such a short time in NXT has been so impressive. Like, who in a kayfabe sense can stand up to that? And then we just kind of nod our heads and go, oh yeah, they've totally got a chance. Totally. Like, Nakamura already is one of those guys that, if I'm being honest, like, his title reign can only conceivably come to an end, to me, in like one of those multi-man matches where he doesn't even eat the pin. Like, that's it. Because even for as good as Hideo's been, and I'm sure he will be in the future, I don't know if I could buy him at his best beating Nakamura the way he is right now. God forbid when he gets some successful title defenses under his belt. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, he addresses the crowd, and that's it. That's NXT. So is there anything you want to say about the promo or Nakamura's reign going forward, or anything?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. I enjoyed the promo, like I said earlier, and kind of, you know, self-referential, and like, you know, like they were using Nakamura to make New Japan seem less important.
Right. Yeah.
So that's about it. But that's all I have to say. I think we can move on and close this out, actually.
Yeah, I agree with you, partner. So let's get on to our final segment: high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is Aliyah, because she came in with a revamped attitude.
I mean, she worked as a good heel, though. You got to give her that credit.
She did work as a good heel, but, you know, we always try and be more kayfabe with our high spots and low shots. I don't even know what the rules are anymore. And so she comes back.
I think the rules are your face.
I knew it. And those are the only rules to abide by, because my face is the most magnificent entity on the goddamn planet.
Yeah. I mean, you do have a nice head, as established earlier.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that. You know, it's time I got some recognition somewhere.
I'm sorry, but that's just the most random compliment ever. Like, you can't compliment him just on, like, because I've heard nice face. That's hilarious. Like, it's ironic and sarcastic and funny to me. And like, with Jose, I think you even originally kind of for a split second mistakenly thought that it was that he said nice hair. And that would have even made sense, because Jose does have an impressive head of hair. Like, that I'm jealous of.
Right.
They complimented both his hair and his face by just enveloping the whole thing with nice head.
in fact, your whole commentary on that makes me just realize maybe I'm just picking on No Way Jose, because deep down I know my hair will never be that impressive in my natural born life. In fact, if anything, I've already had family members call me out for balding. So, you know, I'm actually going in the opposite direction. And maybe
I have a confession.
Yes.
I just turned 26 this past, I want to say, what was it? I don't even know. Thursday. This past Thursday. I turned 26. And this past Wednesday, I found my first ever silver hair in my head.
You know what, though? You can pull it off. I believe in you. I do.
I pulled it out. Not all. I pulled it out.
And I was like, fuck that! And it just yanks it out. Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like, me lashing out on No Way Jose and then subsequently you, I just think it's the product of deeply rooted insecurities. So, okay, I took that bullet wound. But no, in all seriousness, it is definitely a very strange phrase, nice head. I don't really know where that comes from. But yeah, that's that. So, your low shot then is No Way Jose. Is that what you were saying or what? Or no, are we just still talking about
I didn't even say anything about a low shot. So
I remember now. I remember now because I was going on about Aliyah and establishing that, and then we were just kind of doing our own stuff again. Then you told me I had a nice head. Okay. But yeah, Aliyah, new theme, new attitude, same results. She lost. Got to go back to the drawing board. But I do like her working heel. I think if she could just polish her in ring, I could actually be a fan of hers. I like the few things that she did do. She almost had that almost Wade Barrett-esque in a way with those forearms she was laying, almost like a bare knuckle style a little bit. I liked it. I want to see more of it, but she needs to get polished. She needs to get better, but that's why she's here. So I'm rooting for her, but she's my low shot tonight.
Okay. My low shot is really easy. Kenneth Crawford.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
There was such a long pause there. I was waiting for you to be like, who?
Yeah. I mean, makes perfect sense to me. You're talking about a match between two really quintessentially developmental guys. We've seen Steve Cutler multiple times. I don't remember seeing Kenneth Crawford, but then again, my memory has historically always been crap. And this is your chance to really establish some kind of a footing. And Kenneth Crawford coming on the losing end, I think that's a big loss because the guy that beat
you immediately lose to somebody that I don't think has ever won a match at NXT before. So congratulations on being someone's first win.
Yeah, it's like he went through Shroomeister's deck. He pulled out the character development magic card, and he's like, I'm a dickish guy that actually had military service, and that was enough to give him the win, plus 500 attack points. So, yeah, Steve Cutler gets the win. And do like your low shot of Kenneth Crawford. With that said, my high spot, you know what? My high spot's the Revival because they already took out Johnny Gargano, and tonight they made Ciampa their bitch. So I'd say the Revival are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad but true. My high spot. Ty Dillinger, baby.
Hey, second straight win, well deserved. May even be second straight high spot on NXT TWitWoW. So
it is, yeah. Because I think last week you picked someone else intentionally because you knew I'd take Ty if you didn't, and I did, and now I am again.
Yeah, I like this trend. So definitely deserves it. Dude has got an amazing upside, which NXT seems to finally be seeing. It's funny because we're seeing more of him now than the guy who beat him in Oney Lorcan. And I'm wondering if he's just waiting for a chance to reemerge, if that's going to be an angle or what. So that remains to be seen. So, yeah, with that said, do you have any concluding remarks you want to make about NXT?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. I think we covered just about everything, and CWC Live Reactions is coming up in less than 15 minutes, so let's close this baby out.
All right, guys, this is a really fun review of NXT. I had a great time. With that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-worker and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes this video gets, the more likely it is to be the top result. When you type in NXT or NXT review, make TWitWoW own YouTube forever. So, yeah, be sure to give the video a like. Be sure to comment down below. Partner, what question you have for our subscribers this week?
Who is going to be the first NXT television opponent of Ember Moon?
I like that, mainly because it's talking about my girl, Ember Moon. So, yeah, guys, get that conversation started. Very curious who all of you pick. With that said, you guys already know all the stuff to check out because of my partner's amazing backgrounds. What you may not know is to submit questions for Q&A. we recently came off the heels of our second Q&A, 34 questions. If I remember correctly, because I know during the Q&A, my partner here picked out 2 other questions. That was over double the amount of our inaugural Q&A. I like those numbers. Some great discussions. We talked at length about video games and wrestling themes and superstars and everything. Touched so many corners. So be sure to do it again. You can ask us whatever you like on any subject. 5 questions per Q&A. We do Q&As the last Friday of every month. So you've got plenty of time. This is the first time that I'm really plugging it since, you know, we're on our hiatus and we're only doing like NXT and Lucha Underground TWitWows. So get on it. YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. You know the mediums to do your questions. Any questions you guys send to me, I will send them right over to Ashton. He'll compile them. He's a great organizer. So hit us with your best shot, whatever you got. Could be questions for me, him, both of us, even my alter ego, Johnny Scumbag. So, you know, be sure to have any questions that you want. Ask them for our third Q&A. And until then, guys, we will see you again in just a little bit for Cruiserweight Classic live reactions. I think it's one of the best series WWE has got going. And I believe this is the start of the quarterfinals. So who is going to emerge victorious? Who is going to advance to the semifinals? You'll get your best coverage here. And until then, tune in and peace out.